Well, at what point do you actually realize that you are suffering from depression?
If I look back 5 months ago, or maybe 4.5, we got divorced. I decided to quit my company. I decided to go for a job. If you're able to say, I need help,
Yeah.
people will help.
Yeah.
People will help out. They will be there. It's more like a question of, are you willing to be helped?
We changed and we grew and we fell out of touch as time goes.
Incredible guest with me here.
Very
Gentleman on my right here is Carlos Montero. Carlos had an incredible story. The first time I come across your article, I was amazed. Your journey was really tough, the way I perceive it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, at what point do you actually realize that you are suffering from depression?
Yeah, so first, thank you very much for having me over and for allowing me to distribute even more.
It's a pleasure, bro.
This piece of content,
Yeah.
and share the story.
Yeah.
I think to give you a bit of my journey. I've been in Denmark now for 6.5 years, and it's never been an easy path. I love Denmark. I have Danish friends, and I have a lot of friends here. But still, it's a challenging place to settle when you're a foreigner, right? So I had to create my company when I arrived in Denmark. I had to, I applied for several jobs, didn't have a track record here, so it was a bit challenging. So I created a blog and so on, and that's how I created my company. Always fighting a lot to sort of to find my place here, right? Because we have a family here. You have to pay the bills and stuff like that. So that has always been like a force, but also I had that constant feeling of having that pressure as well. So within the 6 years, I think a lot has happened, and on the professional side, the family side as well. We got 2 kids now, Inez and Cecilia, and so we recently got divorced, right? We got divorced because a lot was happening. So I think when I realized that I had depression was one day that Katrina and we had a chat, and we had a very honest chat, and she said, have you noticed how snappy you're becoming? Because depression doesn't necessarily has to be with you being sad or just having probably with negative thoughts, but it's not only because when you go to your room and you're going to have some dark thoughts, you can just as well, your temper can be very short, or your thoughts can start to get really foggy. Your mind actually can, and that's what was happening to me. So for me, it was more like having an honest check and having a sit down with Katrina at some point, and realizing that things were not okay. I was short-tempered, snappy, exploding quite easily, and then having the courage to go to Brazil and seeking for help, because I also did not want to seek any sort of help in Denmark, like going to a psychiatrist and then seeking for psychological help, because English, even though we are pretty good at it, it's not my mother tongue. When it involves emotions, I just want to be free and speaking my own language and stuff like that. So I think having that conversation with Katrina and a very honest chat and saying, hey, I think I need help now, and being open about it, that was the first step. And then getting to talk to friends. So I've been very fortunate to have friends back in Brazil also, and my family, who were very much keen on listening to what was going on. I have this very good friend. He's been a mentor of mine. He I call him up. He's actually my first tennis coach, but we still kept contact throughout the years. Where I talked to him and I said, dude, you shared this once with me. Now I think it's my turn to share. There's some stuff going on. And for me, it's been challenging, you know, in my private life, on the business side as well. I can't perform anymore. My thoughts are getting foggy,
Yeah.
and stuff like that. So every time you were to say the name of my former company,
Yeah.
Biasa,
Yeah.
my head would just say, "Oh no, I can't." You know, I would just get so tired of it, really. And so I just wanted to get out of any situation related to that. So yeah, that's a bit of the, let's say, the initial journey.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
But actually, before Katarina actually prompts you, like, tell you about it, it looks like you have something like depression.
Mhm.
Do you actually realize it yourself that something was going wrong with you?
So she didn't say, "Well, you have depression." We agree that I should have more like a checkup,
Yeah.
you know, and see why you're snappy, why you're, you know, so short tempered. So when I got to Brazil, first thing I did was to have a very serious chat with my parents, who've been very supportive
Yeah.
throughout this journey. And I said, I need help because I'm getting stressed out with the kids, and, you know, with Katrina as well. And so I think I should, you know, seek a psychiatrist and have some kind of assessment and have a talk. So I went to the guy, and the guy said, "Listen, I actually went to the first doctor, which I didn't like because I think we are living in a society that is a doped society, right? So there's nothing wrong with taking antidepressives, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But in Brazil, you see a lot of studies, and I think in the US it's pretty much the same. You know, that people are just looking for the let's say the easy path, the easy solution, and taking an antidepressive can be a way of finding like a, you know, a solution. I think we're living in a society that looks for easy solutions.
Yeah.
And easy solutions means, well, I just take a medication and I'll find out, you know, I'll have the like the easy pill to sort out my pain.
Yeah.
So that's what the doctor did. He said, well, it seems like you have a depression, the first doctor, and take these pills. And then he gave me a medical, what do you call in English?
Prescription.
Prescription.
Yeah.
And asked me to take those meds. And I said, well, why should I take these meds? You know, no, because it seems you have a depression. But I'm not really in a position to question a doctor.
Yeah.
Because I don't have all the arguments. I just know for a fact that there is like there's a drug industry behind that wants to push meds at any cost. So, you know, I did not agree with that. So I looked for another doctor who said, you know, then we had like several encounters. And the first meeting we had, we spoke for like 2.5 hours. And it was amazing because he was saying, listen, you know, you have some symptoms here that are interesting, like the brain fogginess and so on. But that could also be from anxiety. Anxiety leads you to depression.
Yeah.
And so, you know, like when we had this chat and he said, take a look at your life, take a look at what's going on. You're the, you know, primary household supporter, you know, like the provider, so to speak, for paying for most of the bills. You're not from Denmark. You don't speak the language fluently. So there are a lot of stressors in there that if you don't come to Brazil as often as you like as well, you know, that's not your culture. So you have to sort of adapt yourself to a new culture that's also a stressor. So you need to pay attention that there are a lot of stressors in your life that can lead you to depression. But I'm not going to diagnose you with a certain depression. So what I think you should do then is to start creating some routines that are going to make your life more simple.
Yeah.
So that's when we, and I mean, I've turned my life like 180 degrees from, if I look back 5 months ago, or maybe 4.5, you know, we got divorced. I decided to quit my company. I decided to go for a job. And so, yeah, and now I just rented a new apartment, you know, so these are all very deep and drastic changes. But I felt that, well, if I did not take a chance and took those
Steps.
steps,
Yeah.
I think, well, maybe I would be in a worse place.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I answer your question.
Yeah, of course, sure, definitely, man. Honestly, I'm blown away, man.
So yeah, but not easy, because I think in order to do that, you have to feel that you have the support, but you then need the courage as well to
Yeah.
to speak
To
up,
speak out, yeah.
you know, and
Yeah.
to speak out and to reach out to people. So the reason why I wrote the article then is
Yeah.
like I've been producing content for a long time now. For I mean, since I got in Denmark, I've been producing all sorts of content.
Yeah.
And most of my content is I try to bring that, you know, I hate being pessimistic about stuff. So I try to help out foreigners
Yeah.
and giving them hope on how they can position themselves
Yeah.
in Denmark,
Yeah.
what you can do in order to, you know, to create your personal brand and stuff like that. Because I heard stories that, and in fact, I go a lot to the Netherlands, and I see that they're probably, it's more like an open society. I'm not saying Denmark is more closed,
Yeah.
but it doesn't mean that you cannot. It doesn't mean that you won't leave your mark. But it's just a different way of reading
Yeah.
the culture.
Yeah, yeah.
Right. It's a very different culture. So digital can help a lot, but. Yeah, I think there are other places in the world that might be easier for a foreigner to
For a startup.
to get a job and
Yeah.
to, you know, to find.
Start a life,
Yeah.
yeah.
So yeah, and the reason why I produce content is pretty much like to you know, it's also a way to of self-expression, of putting, you know, empowering maybe people and having them giving them an opportunity to see that things are possible, but you need to share things out there, so you know, so other people know what's going on.
Yeah, what is
and,
going on.
and then eventually it's not about self-victimizing
Yeah.
or a self-victimization position, but
Yeah.
also to say, okay, I've gone through this, and these are the steps that I've taken
Yeah. Yeah.
to overcome. I mean, nothing has ended. It's a journey, but if you're going through this, pay attention at the signs, you know, and it is possible to have, I think, a recovery.
That was really incredible.
Thank you.
It was really incredible, man.
Okay.
But like in your own opinion, like according to the cause of the law of cause and effects, like for something to happen, there must be a trigger somewhere. Like if you would say in your opinion, what would you say that is the cause of major depression?
I can talk for myself. I think in my case is always, I think I've always been very hard on myself, in the sense I've always been a sportsman, an athlete. So when I was younger, I played football. Then I played tennis later on in my life. I played almost at a professional level, starting to play this future tournaments, got injured. But, you know, being competitive is something has always been very present in my life. So I'm a competitive person.
Yeah.
And I think because I'm a competitive person, I always want to be the first, or to be at the top.
Yeah.
Not at all costs, but I like competition. I like that. It's in my DNA.
Yeah.
You know, when you are the founder of a company and the owner of a startup, I mean, there's so many things you're gonna suck at.
Yeah.
In my case, I think I've always been very good at connecting with other human beings. That's my strength.
Yeah.
And being more like a visionary on where I wanted to go. But I sucked at finance. I sucked at so many other things, details, you know. But always having that expectation of, like, I think one of the stressors is actually having very high expectations.
Yeah.
Because we have very high expectations, and because we are probably buying something we are actually being bombarded by the media.
Yeah.
At all the time, right? So you get that high expectation that you need to make a lot of money.
Yeah.
And I to be honest, I want to have quite a good financial condition.
Honestly, bro, man, this is a very groundbreaking secret.
I don't know if that is
honestly, it is, man. It's a very groundbreaking secret. You know, sometimes most of us we expect so much from life, and when it's not forthcoming, we feel this kind of agitation within us.
Yeah.
Like, man, what is going on?
Mm-hmm.
And it leads to too much of worries, and from worry to anxiety. Gradually you find yourself
Yeah.
in a state of depression.
Exactly, and then it leads us back to our purpose. So what you're doing, you're like sharing stories
Yeah.
that you think are meaningful and can impact other people's lives in a positive manner. So that fulfills you.
Yeah.
You also have to pay the bills, and I have that also in terms of I'm producing content that gives me like such a joy when I do this. Like I try to find stories about people who are using technology and transforming the world. But we need to understand that the results, and talking to Jolly before, they're not for now.
Yeah.
It's a journey.
Yeah.
So having that comprehension and really having lower expectations, I think it's probably the root cause for happiness, which means in the end, I think, and I'm learning again, is being present.
Yeah.
So if we're here, I don't have my phone here.
Yeah.
I'm talking to you. I'm looking at you. I'm here with you. That means that I'm present. That means that we are sharing this moment, and that makes me happy. So I think it's about being present, lowering our expectations. It's nice to to have a vision and so on, and understand that we're gonna have a journey, and that if we can have that understanding, maybe I think we can also avoid these issues.
Yeah.
Maybe, but I don't have the.
No, honestly, bro, this is superb, man. This is amazing, because sometimes it's sometimes I think when our expectations are too high, and we'll find it difficult to make them happen. It's a very dangerous situation. It's a lot of people has lived from depression to suicide. Because they find it difficult to seek help when they should. And it leads a lot of them to committing suicide, and that was the end of it. I think people should learn how to being present and accepting what it is. And sometimes most people worry about things that they can't change. Things that they don't have power over, and yet you worry about them. And you already know that you're exposing yourself to so many dangers out there, which can easily take over your emotion and lead you probably direct to depression and anxiety, then anger and whatever, and eventually leading someone to a place of suicide or something thereabouts.
Yes, so I think there are two things. Like we knew a guy who used to work in this compound here. He used to be like some kind of janitor. He was an amazing guy, so sweet and nice. I think he bought a house, probably very high expectations. Didn't measure the impact that was going to have in his finances. And then he found himself in a debt. Instead of asking for help, probably because he was ashamed of what he's done, then he just got himself locked up into that home, and he died. He committed suicide. And it was very, very sad for all of us. We had to, this guy who was a very, very sweet guy, he definitely had some issues there as well. He was afraid of sharing his issues. And maybe if he reached out to a lot of people, maybe people would say, hey, we can help you. Maybe you have to face reality, which is like live in a small room and sell the home, whatever. But he didn't reach out. And then he had to sort of to live up to those expectations, which were not fulfilled. They were probably very high expectations that were not real. I don't know what else happened in his life. But he committed suicide. The other thing then is like, when I was in Brazil, and I spent like 45, 46 days in Brazil. That was the journey of trying to, trying to heal my mind and speak something like that. I spent a lot of time talking to a lot of friends, but a lot. And reality is that everyone is going through their own hardships, So when you look at Instagram, you see a lot of crap. You see a lot of stuff like that. And I'm not saying you should not look at Instagram,
Yeah.
but just understand that everyone
It's dealing with something.
they are dealing with something.
Yeah.
Be in their families, we just don't know.
Yeah.
So that's why it's also so important, I think, to take some time and talk to people,
Yeah.
like as people, and that's probably one of the things that I really learned the most, from this journey in Brazil, is that I started investing more time in talking
Talking to people. Yeah.
to people, and really being useful in that sense.
Yeah. The most awkward part about this issue is like most people think being vulnerable is weakness.
Mhm.
No, that is not.
I don't see a weakness.
This is the greatest strength you can ever actually exhibit as a person.
Yeah.
The ability to be able to share your
Mhm.
issue with somebody else, and it can actually lead to a very good change or healing within you as a person.
Mhm.
Because sometimes when you don't share your issues, you don't actually know where the situation might come from.
Mhm.
You personally being able to learn that in Brazil, being able to talk to people, whatever is going on in your life is very helpful, man.
Mhm.
That was really great of you, bro, man.
Thanks. Yeah, but again, I think we have to try to share those things from a place that doesn't come from self-pity.
Yeah, yeah,
It has to be. It has to come from a very deep and honest place, like not being narcissist. Because
Yeah.
some people, they like to share just to talk
yeah,
about themselves.
yeah,
And I think when you're sharing your stuff, you're actually asking for someone for their time.
yeah,
So if you're asking someone for their feedback or time, well, you should share, but also shut up
yeah,
and listen, to their take on how they perceive you. And that's what I think where people get it wrong, So sharing is very important, but as long as it comes from a place of being of humility, if that makes sense.
yeah,
Don't share your stuff just for the sake of being narcissistic,
yeah.
because a lot of people, they do that and they want to talk, but they just want to talk
Talk, yeah.
and they don't shut up. And I mean, then it's just like utterly, crap,
Yeah,
if I may say that.
Yeah, of course I get it right. Yeah, bro, but like that, for instance, like in the case of depression,
Mm-hmm.
does it actually have some premonition, something like kind of symptoms that you can actually feel
Yeah,
in the early stage of it?
Sure. So in the article, I was reading a lot about it before I published that piece. And if you're feeling that your brain is getting foggy, and I mean foggy is, in my case, was if you were to speak about work and about that specific company, I was getting really, really tired, in my mind. That's a symptom of stress that can lead you to depression. And there are several levels of depression, like, which I'm not in a position as a doctor to talk about it, but I know that you can have a mild depression, but you can also have a very deep depression, which is like, in some cases, some people find it's really hard to get out of their beds, right? So in my case, well, when you're getting short-tempered, very snappy, angry easily, brain fogginess, difficulty to concentrate on specific stuff. I was waking up also every day, like 4 a.m. I thought it was to take a leak, but there's the phone addiction, again, expectations. Is there something going on? And I actually still wake up very early. I think I'm getting better at sleeping more.
Yeah.
My sleeping pattern has improved, but it's not perfect. It's far from perfect, So I wake up always. Also, there's a relationship to alcohol or other drugs, that it's a very easy path for you to try to find that comfort in certain drugs. In my case, alcohol was something very present that I'm
So it makes
sure
you to consume more of alcohol or something, right?
it's not because you're depressed. I think alcohol is just something that a lot of people, they might lose track on how they make use of that thing that is really nice.
Yeah.
But it's very easy to lose track on how you're making use of alcohol, and then when you see, well, you're taking a few glasses of wine every day, and stuff like that. So personally, a promise that I made for myself was that there are certain periods where I just don't drink, because I think it's just good for me to feel that I have control over that. I can choose what I want. So it's a practice. That makes sense.
Yeah, of course it does.
Yeah.
Man. It does. Honestly, his story is actually really inspiring, man. I believe this is gonna help somebody's life out there. You wouldn't know
so.
a lot of people that are dealing with this issue out there.
Mhm.
It's very common, and the most important, the most dangerous thing about it, it can actually lead
Mm-hmm.
to suicide or to a more deeper part of depression, just like you said. But if, for instance, like in the case of depression, in your own case, how does it actually really affect your family life?
I think it affects immensely, because it doesn't only affect your family life; it will affect you as a whole, right? Because we are a complex thing.
Yeah.
We have a family, we have work, we have friends. In my case, and that's what's interesting, at the squash center, people, because we were just meeting there very quickly and we have those 2 hours together, people wouldn't even imagine that I was going through something that deep or so hard. Some people would, because I would have the conversations with them. But in general, the family and the work would be the places where my partner would feel the most,
Yeah.
and my ex-wife and the kids, because I was always very snappy.
Snapping with the kids. as well.
Like getting angry, and and I mean, your life quality
As a person, yeah.
it's going to just decrease, because, well, your spouse isn't going. She's not going. She or he are not going to be very satisfied with your attitude towards her, him, or the kids. The kids are also going to feel it, so they're going to be afraid of you and be afraid of talking to you. So that is also a terrible effect that you're going to have, in your household. So I think it's just everything, But let's talk also about what I did. So I went to the psychiatrist, had long talks. Every week I do a session of therapy, and I began doing transcendental meditation, which was something that I heard a lot about.
Yeah.
There's a book also from a guy called Ray Dalio. He's an investor, but there's so many people who are practicing TM. Basically, it's just a moment for yourself. You have that moment twice a day. You just need 20 minutes in the morning as soon as you wake up.
Yeah.
It's a good idea to have the belly empty, because the effect is better. And in the afternoon, and that is over time, again, trying to avoid pills and drugs and having those routines that you can sort of simplify your life. You can make your life more predictable. It's time for a meditation. After the meditation, you're gonna have your breakfast or whatnot. You may go to the gym, and then you're gonna see the kids, take them to the daycare, to their school, and then you get to work, and then you have those routines. You build your life around those routines that make your life more predictable and more simple.
Yeah.
And that can help you go a long way, I think.
Wow. Honestly, but like for instance, if someone have a kind of partner or a neighbor or a relatives who you assume to be having issues with depression, how do you think you can come across that person to offer help?
I think having the heart and honest conversation about how, one thing is, like, when we talking at home has always been very challenging if the kids were around, because they would not because they wanted to, but because they just probably would disrupt the conversation. So getting your partner for a stroll, like for a walk, and having like a relaxed walk where you can be honest to each other and say, hey, and respectful, this is what's going on, that's how I'm perceiving this situation, and try to bring those situations forward on and specifically on what happened and why you don't think that is a normal behavior kind of thing. I think it's the first step as a partner, and then getting the partner also to speak about how they feel, and having that conversation. So I think that's if you're partners, and if I think that should happen. I mean, you should be open to talk about these things. That is probably a way to start.
Wow. Honestly. Because why I really ask you this question, because there are so many people around us who are actually dealing with these issues, and most of them have this issue about with vulnerability. They feel like coming out to share what I feel might make me look like a weak person, and rather they prefer to bear their pain secretly. So this is just the reason why I asked this question, because just for instance, if I assume like maybe my partner or my neighbor is having issue with depression, then we can actually know how, okay, this is how we can offer help to these very people around us.
Yeah, I know, I understand where you come from. I mean, after I wrote my article, I mean the number of, let's say, likes and stuff people wrote doesn't even reflect what I got in my inbox.
Yeah.
Or my WhatsApp was just crazy.
Yeah.
Like people saying, well, thanks for your courage.
Yeah.
Thanks for this or for that. And there was even a girl who wrote me. She said, it's really nice that you're able to share this stuff, because I've gone through a situation that I almost killed myself. And I was like, oh my God. You have no idea what people are doing.
Exactly, man.
Yeah, but people are just like, they're just swallowing that information, and they're just keeping it to themselves. And I think there is a lot of, again, as we spoke, a lot of, it's not value the word I'm looking for, but if you're able to say, I need help, people will help.
Yeah.
People will help out. They will be there, So it's more like a question of, are you willing to be helped? Because I'm sure that if you scream that you need some help, people are going
come
to
to rescue.
they will come to rescue, and they will come to help you out. So that's one of the valuable learnings as well.
Yeah.
And that goes for a job. That goes for, whatever. If having a network and making sure that I don't think it's only about taking from that network.
Yeah.
Also making sure that you can contribute somehow, whether it's via articles, videos, or whatever it is that you're doing. When you need, I think it's easier also to ask for.
To ask for it. Listen, I like that, man. I remember one of Malcolm X quotes. He said that if you want something, you better make some noise about it. It's one of the strategy that kids, I'm a father. Being a father, I've actually really taught me so many lessons. I've learned so much from my kids than I have given to them as actually. I kind of realize, kids, baby in the teenage age, they can say the kind of word that you can understand.
Yeah.
But when they are hungry, they scream about it, and you know what they want, right? So.
And there is a certain scream that is more like hunger,
okay,
or another scream that is poop, and then you start to.
Being able to actually speak out, but actually really make a long way to help anyone who find his or herself in a kind of difficulties like you, struggling to bring yourself out. Honestly, bro, I really cherish your courage.
Thank you very much.
Confidence and the vulnerability as well, to being able to admit to what you were dealing with, and the courage to seek for help, which have actually lead you to the liberation you have. And now you're enjoying your life more than you used to be. Now you can actually enjoy your kids the way you want, or the way you love, and I really appreciate your strength, bro, man.
Thank you very much.
I really do, and it's a pleasure to be with you today, bro, man. Honestly,
Absolutely.
I value these moments, and I really cherish, and also I believe whoever that is watching you right now, I think they're gonna say thank you for this piece, man.
Perfect.
Yeah.
I mean, people can feel free also to reach out.
Yeah,
And
so
I might not be able to answer. I think in your Facebook, I saw there's a lot of comments
Yeah.
coming through. So, but feel free to reach out. I
Yeah,
might
of course,
try
sure.
to give some general answers as well.
Exactly.
And
Honestly,
if it helps.
like for instance, if somebody wants to reach out for you, probably for a bit of advice or
Sure.
guide or whatever, man, where can they find you?
Yeah, I'm very present on LinkedIn. I
LinkedIn,
think it's
right.
the easiest way.
Being vulnerable is not a weakness, rather it is strength. Like he said, like Carlos said, that the ability to be able to speak out will go a long way to help anyone who found his or herself with these unusual symptoms, like being dizzy, having a foggy brain, and being tired and having a kind of insomnia or whatever. So if you see yourself having this kind of unusual symptoms that you don't have as previously, it's better you reach out for help, talk to somebody, and let them see how they can be able to assist you. Like I said before, like the quote of Malcolm S, if you want something, you better make some noise about it. So thank you so much for watching, and I really appreciate you for your time. And please, what I do here is to bring incredible story like this that can motivate you and inspire you, to guide you on the path you are already working on, or on that particular issue you're trying to contemplate, if I should go or if I shouldn't. So if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please kindly hit on the notification button, so that whenever I have good story like this, then you can easily get notified and listening to them, and be one of the beneficiaries. Thank you so much for your time. God bless you until I come across your way again. Thank you so much.
Like we used to do.